This video is sponsored by Roborock.
This is the most powerful, fastest iPhone we've ever made. It's a huge leap forward in mobile computing performance.
The most advanced iPhone we have ever created.
So I know this is crazy, but the newest generation iPhone is going to be the most powerful iPhone ever, like it is every year. And we're at the point now where these leaks are hitting a fever pitch, and generally by the time the phone is announced, there's not that much to be excited about. But this year, with the iPhone 12 line, so the 12 and the 12 Pro, things are changing. And I'm more excited about the iPhone 12 line than I've been about a phone the past couple years. The iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro, Apple seems to be going kind of against the curve with the current design of flagship smartphones. So we're not going to see rounded waterfall edges. We're not going to have rounded corners. It's not going to be a hole punch front-facing camera. They're going the opposite direction of all of those things. And all of these rumors are coming from people that I trust through the reliable records. So big shout outs and thank you to John Prosser from Front Page Tech, Max Weinbach, and Everything Apple Pro, who substantiated kind of each other to give us a full picture of what the iPhone 12 line of phones are going to be. So kind of like what we have right now with the 11 and 11 Pro, there'll be an iPhone 12 and a 12 Pro. They're gonna have a lot of similarities. So here are the things that are going to be the same with both of those lines of phones, and I'll break down what'll be different with the Pro line. The current generation of iPhone design has kind of been around for 2.5-ish years, started with the iPhone 10, so it was time for something new. And what we're going to get, I'm super excited about. Think like iPad Pro, similar design language to what we saw with the iPhone 4 or the iPhone 5, with the same frosted back that we've got on the current generations of iPhones. So you'll have a phone that sort of is squared off, kind of easy to grab. Think of it as again, an iPad Pro, just shrunk down to phone size. So aside from design, the other big changes is going to be sizes. So the regular iPhone 12 is gonna come in two different sizes. So a smaller 5.4 inch, and then the same one that we have right now with the iPhone 11 at 6.1 inches. So the iPhone 12 Pro will have a bigger 6.1 inch starting size, and then the Max is going to go to a ginormous 6.7 inches, up from 6.5 we have right now. And I know phone sizes are personal taste. I love the biggest phone that I can get. So the 6.7 inch iPhone 12 Pro Max is my jam, and I'm really excited for it. I'm kind of looking at it again like a iPad Mini Pro. 6.7 is getting really big and probably won't be the right phone for a lot of people. But at least for me, the bigger the screens, the happier I am. But at least right now with the screen pantheon with the 12 and the 12 Pro, there should at least be a screen size for everyone. And speaking of screens, you could say adios to LCD and low resolutions that we've got on the iPhone 11 line. The entire iPhone 12 lineup will be going that sweet, sweet OLED. So aside from better battery life and higher resolution, you can expect the regular OLED-y things like darker blacks, brighter colors, and overall just kind of a better viewing experience on the phones. And while we're talking about the front of the phones, Face ID, of course, is going to be here on the entire lineup, but it's shrinking down. So that should mean, obviously, a smaller top notch, but also battery life percentage will come back in the upper right-hand corner, which I'm pretty happy about. And also, reports are saying we should get a lot of better angles. So my thought and hope is that it'll work flat on a table with me looking at the phone, but also will work sideways and upside down. All those things that currently work on the iPad Pro. So obviously Apple can do it, just hasn't made its way to the iPhone yet. So smaller, more secure, better features, I think is a win for everybody. So aside from like screen, camera is probably the most important thing to a phone for me. And we're getting a big update here with the 12 line like we got last year with the iPhone 11. So there's been rumors that Apple was gonna go for just a 64 megapixel main camera. They've stuck with 12 for a while, but allegedly they weren't happy with the quality of the images coming out of that sensor. So they're sticking with that same 12 megapixel tried and true sensor for the iPhone 12. The things that will change, you'll get faster autofocus, which is awesome, better HDR from the already really good HDR, and just generally better low light. So better EIS, slow motion, subject detection, and even kind of an astrophotography type mode. It won't be a separate toggle, but you can just sort of put your phone down and leave it. Don't expect too much of a change with the ultra wide, but at the very least, we'll see it on all the phones. And all of that is gonna be made possible by the 14 processor, which as we joked at the beginning, will be the fastest processor Apple's ever done. And if the A13 and 12 and 11 before it's any indication, it should be a beast of a processor. These things not only benchmark well, but they perform well in real-world tasks. And the same processor that'll be in the 12 and the 12 Pro, so you can rest assured at least you're going to have a really beastly performer for many years. One point that was interesting for me, and Apple is not usually quick on jumping on new technologies, is that allegedly the entire 12 lineup is going to go 5G. Now, Apple bought Intel's modem business, so perhaps they have an Intel-made modem ready to go. Who knows what they're gonna use, if it'll be Qualcomm or whatever they've got ready. But 5G should make its way to the iPhone 12 lineup. There are some rumors saying that the millimeter wave, the super fast version of 5G that's not so good at going through walls, will not make its debut, at least right away, on the iPhone 12, which is a bummer for folks that are on Verizon, so that's primarily what they use for 5G. We should get is kind of what's called sub-6, and that's just faster than what we have right now with better wall penetration. So 200, 300, you could expect sort of those consistent speeds if you have a solid 5G network. We don't know how this is gonna impact battery life. Millimeter wave traditionally is a bigger battery drainer, so maybe we won't see much of an impact on battery, but it'll be interesting to see Apple enter the 5G market with a little bit fractured. So about a year ago, we did an advertisement for the Roborock robot vacuum. It was the S5. And since that point, the S5 has been a staple in my house. So enter the Roborock S6 Max V, which takes all the stuff that I loved about the S5, but kind of goes up to 11. So it's got two cameras. They're actually capturing images at 30 frames per second, and all that is being processed. So if you've got shoes that are laying around, or you've got, you're out at work and your dog pooped on the floor, it's going to avoid all of that stuff and not smear poop everywhere and not push your shoes all around it. Also, it's got a disc on top that's actually LiDAR, so it'll map out to your house. So probably one of the biggest reasons, and this is an odd thing to be excited about, to upgrade my Roborock to the S6 Max V was that mopping function. We've got a 300 milliliter tank, and it's all app-controlled mopping. It can be scheduled and customized for room to room. So it also has like enhanced cleaning and give you 25% more suction for kind of a deeper clean, which you want your vacuum to suck as much as possible. And while you're using the app to kind of control the amount of suction or how much it's going to mop, you kind of get full control of what the robot can do. So if this sounds like something you want to check out, and again, a product I really use and think you should, we will link to them down below. All right, so that's the stuff that's coming to the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, and you're getting a lot of really pro-level style features on the iPhone 12, but there's a couple key things that are reserved for the Pro line that I think make it more intriguing than even the 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max were this year. So let's start with the big one, the one that probably should have been here years ago. A ProMotion will make its way to the iPhone 12 Pro. There were some reports that Apple wasn't happy with how it was performing, but allegedly that has been fixed. 120 Hertz refresh rate on the iPhone 12 Pro, and I could not be more excited. Now it should be dynamic, so it should drop between 60 and 120 depending on what you're doing, which should save battery life. That's awesome. I like the higher refresh rate. I think it just makes things look smoother, better, and for what the iPhones costs, I expect the best experience for that amount of money. So I think camera, aside from screen, is the area we're gonna see the biggest difference with the 12 versus the 12 Pro. So let's start with telephoto and LiDAR. So we saw LiDAR make its debut on the current generation iPad Pros, and mostly it's been used for AR. If you don't know what LiDAR is, technology that kind of is used to map the world around you. A lot of self-driving car tech is utilizing LiDAR, but it's making its way to its iPhone. I think it's safe to assume it'll have more uses than just AR, and the sort of general thought is that that mapping will improve portrait mode, which will be awesome, but obviously only portrait on the rear camera. So Apple's already doing a really good job with cutouts and making portrait mode, but I think we should see better portrait and also perhaps more portrait options with the iPhone 12 and the iPhone 12 Pro. I'm a big telephoto guy. I know a lot of you guys are in the ultra wide camp, but I like the diversity of having it in the iPhone line. We should get a bump, albeit not a giant one. Certainly not bring it up to par with some of what Android has, but from 2x to 3x. We should also see night mode make its way over to telephoto, which is awesome. And digital zoom should be improved as well, going up to, very conflicting reports, of either 25 to 30 times. And the thing that's perhaps least important to the iPhone 12 Pro line, but it'll probably be the biggest sales driver for the phone, a new navy blue color should be making its way, replacing the midnight green that we got with the iPhone 11 Pro, the color that I had and loved. Also, finally, 128 gig starting point for the iPhone 12 Pro. There's been some conflicting reports about whether or not the 12 will start at 128, but at the very least, finally, the least expensive Pro line of phones has a storage size that's probably pretty good for most people. So the iPhone 12 lineup, I think, is shaping up to be a really nice upgrade from the iPhone 11. But there are some things to consider. First, delays. We're living in a very different world than a few months ago. So while traditional iPhones have come out in September, there could be Corona-related delays that push these back to October and even November. So you may have to wait a few extra months to get your new iPhone. That's the bad. On the good, the iPhone 12 should get a $50 price drop for the entry level, going to $649. So that's awesome. On the Pro line, despite the screen sizes changing, they should start at exactly the same price. So that's $1,000 and $1,100 for the Pro and the Max. For me, I'm excited for a new design. Something different is always nice, even if it's just for different sake. I really like the iPad Pro design. I really love the iPhone 4 and iPhone 5. So the combination of the older plus the modern, plus the durability of not having those rounded edges, it's kind of a really exciting for me. So despite maybe having to wait a few months longer to get new iPhones, I'm still pumped and excited for whatever it is Apple will eventually debut.